lot of people, particularly my audience members, tend to be very, very well informed, are really well aware of the increased research, and they're very knowledgeable about the problems with man-made radiation and how it can affect our cells, nature, our food and our water. So today
I think because the blood just doesn't lie, seeing is believing. And you just can't deny what you're seeing, but a lot of people will not want to see it because it's hard to really accept that what you can't see may be affecting you at cellular level too. They say, why are these so dangerous for us? It's because a lot of people don't realize that we are actually electrical beings. You know, our cells pulse with electricity. We have an electrical biofield around us that goes out 6 feet.
So this is real, and I think I really want people to see your presentation because, you know, as you say, the blood doesn't lie, and it's so difficult at the moment, particularly humans. We all know about the placebo effect, we all know about the nocebo effect, so knowing what's real and what's imaginary. But once you do know these challenges that we're all being faced with, we can do something about it. Those of you that sort of watch my channel regularly will probably know that my whole channel is about providing natural solutions in an ever-changing world. And my ethos in life is very much that if we educate ourselves and are aware and keep an open mind to the challenges that we're being faced with in the modern world that we're living in, then we have the choice to come up and work with solutions. But if we don't know what these challenges are, we can't possibly know what are the most important solutions for us. And today, the topic for today is something that's really, really close to my heart, because 25 years ago, I was working for Nokia in the environmental department. So I've got a lot of background in this subject. And I think a lot of people, particularly my audience members, tend to be very, very well informed, are really well aware of the increased research, and they're very knowledgeable about the problems with man-made radiation and how it can affect our cells, nature, our food and our water. So today we're going to have a really brilliant conversation, not only about, is this real? You know, we have a lot of scaremongering going on at the moment. So are these effects real, and is it something we really do need to be aware of it? But most importantly, what we can do about it.
So I've been working with blood for a long time, and you know, after this amount of time, you get to know, you know, patterns in blood and what's correct and what isn't, you know. And just working, looking at the products that we're going to be discussing today, I was absolutely blown away by the effects that EMFs can have on our blood. I really was unaware, and how quickly they can affect us as well. But also today to offer solutions, because there are solutions. And I think it's you know, we're entering a new phase in life. There's such an uptick with EMFs, of everything, you know, we're involved in now. And to be able to recognize that and just to find ways to protect ourselves is so important going forward into this new technological age that we're entering, really, or have entered, and we continue to progress down that road.
Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. So yeah, let's get on with it. You know, the thing with blood is that the blood doesn't lie, and seeing is believing. So when we're testing with the blood, we get a picture immediately whether something's affecting our body or not at cellular level. So what I did was I put the photonic cards to the test to see how they help to protect our bodies against certain devices. And I tested against 5 different devices, which was the smartphone, the smart pad, the router, the smartwatch, and also earpods, which everybody's wearing, you know, in their ears. Some people wear them all day long. I know, you know, friends and colleagues that do that. And, you know, when we're looking at the photonic cards, we're looking to see how they're protecting our body from the EMFs that these devices, you know, give off. And the way that we're able to test this is through dark field microscopy, because what we do is we take a pinprick of blood from a test subject before we have a room orientation phase where the client will be sitting for an hour, not affected by any EMFs at all. And then we would do a pinprick of blood, peripheral blood sample, and would look at that client's blood. Then we'd have the client go onto a device for 20 minutes, and then we would look at the blood again after being on that device for 20 minutes, the second pinprick of blood. And then the third stage would be the client would go back onto that device, but have either one of the photonic cards in their pocket or on the device. And then we would look at the blood again with the third pinprick of peripheral blood sample and see how their blood is after that point. So let me just show you the very first test we did. This was with an iPhone or a smartphone. And this was the test subject's blood after 20 minutes of after the room orientation phase. So when we're looking at red blood cells, we want them to be lovely and round and roughly the same shape and size. We don't want them to be attracted to each other so they can flow around the body and deliver their oxygen and nutrients and take away waste products. And probably people have heard me say this many times. And this is what keeps our body healthy, you know, at cellular level. It doesn't matter how many nutrients you put into your body. If your blood isn't flowing to deliver these nutrients and oxygen and take away waste products, then we're going to have a problem. So this was a test subject's blood, various places on the slide. And you can see very healthy blood. And then we asked the test subject to go on her phone just for 20 minutes. And I asked her to put the phone up to her head so we get a good contact with the phone, with the body. And after 20 minutes, this was her blood. And, you can see immediately the changes from the initial blood sample. And we can see now that the blood is actually sticking together. What these EMFs have done is they've changed what we call the zeta potential in the blood. The blood is a colloidal solution, and there should be specific charges on the outside of the red blood cell, like a negative charge, so they don't stick together, and that's been affected, the zeta potential. But not only that, with some of these images, you can see that the red blood cells have actually got oxidative damage. They've been affected by the EMFs, where it's affected the structure of the cells. There's a lot of sort of rugged and ragged edges, which we would call kilocytes. And this is indicative of oxidative stress in the blood. So the blood's been affected at cellular level, which I'll go on to talk about a little bit more. So I was really shocked by that. So I asked the client to go back on her phone, but this time to put the photonic card, the photonic square into the cover of the phone, just so it's next to the phone, and go back on her phone for 20 minutes. And we took her blood after 20 minutes. And then this was her blood at that point. Wow. So now you can see that the blood is no longer coagulated. The card has protected her body from these EMFs. And this is another picture.
Wow. Wow.
So the next test we did was with a router. And again, the client arrived after having an hour's room orientation phase. I was really strict about making sure, that the test was completed in a really, structured and standard way for all the test subjects across the board. And this was the test subject's blood after the room orientation phase. Just calm blood, nothing to worry about. There's no attraction. The blood looks healthy, lovely red blood cells, and the blood's flowing. And then the client sat near the router, about 1.5 to 2 feet away in a room for 20 minutes. And then after 20 minutes, I took his blood. And then you can see the same picture happened again. And potentially this is probably worse even in the iPhone, because you can see this, severe erythrocyte aggregation, red blood cell clumping in a lot of areas across the sample. It's probably the worst part. So then I asked the client to go back in front of the router, but to have the photonic shield in his pocket. And again, after 20 minutes, we tested his blood, and boom.
Wow.
Completely protected from the EMF shield, the photonic shield. And of course, the client was really amazed by this as well. So next test we did was with a smart pad. Same process, room orientation phase, and this was the client's blood. Excuse me, and as you can see, just healthy blood again. And then I asked the lady to go on her smart pad for 20 minutes, just to work on it. And this was her blood after 20 minutes, which is quite astounding. And with her blood, we saw the erythrocyte aggregation, but we also have what we call rouleau, which is the stacking together of the red blood cells. And this was her blood across the sample. And when we get blood like this, we can get headaches, brain fog. You know, it's not a good state for our blood to be in. So I asked her to go back on her iPad, but this time to put the photonic square in front of her iPad as she worked on it for 20 minutes. And again, we see that her blood went back to normal. In fact, her blood improved beyond baseline. And this was quite common as well with a lot of the tests that I've been doing, that their blood actually has an improvement in the, in the flow and just the less attraction with each of the red blood cells. The next test we did was with a smartwatch. And I think this is the most interesting test of all, because a lot of people wear these devices to either, measure their steps, or they're wearing them in gym to monitor their heart rates. So they're wearing them for health reasons. And they don't realize that potentially this could be affecting their health at cellular level as well. So we take a blood sample, and this is after the room orientation phase, the healthy blood cells. And then I asked the test subject to go on her smartwatch for 20 minutes and just to interact with the smartwatch. And this was her blood after 20 minutes. Now, this was severely aggregated. Wow. And I think potentially because the smartwatch has very close contact with the skin, it's affecting the cells, because it takes 1 minute for a red blood cell to go around the body. And so where we're affected in one area, it's going to affect us in another area. So the effect of the EMF on her wrist will be affecting her whole body, not just in one particular area. So it's very, very pernicious. And when we're looking at red blood cells, we need them to be very pliable. A red blood cell is roughly 7 to 8 microns in diameter, and a small capillary is about 3 to 4. So they need to be very pliable to be able to get through, one by one, to deliver their oxygen nutrients and take away waste products. So this will definitely be affecting their ability, to deliver oxygen at a time when, someone wearing a smartwatch would be exercising most of the time. So I asked the client to go back on her smartwatch, but this time to put the photonic shield in her pocket. And when we took her blood sample again, you can see that actually her blood improved beyond baseline, and all that erythrocyte aggregation had just dispersed.
Wow.
And of course, it's bang on the skin. It's right on the body.
And not only that, it's also over a major vein and a major acupoint. And
I think because the blood just doesn't lie. Seeing is believing. And you just can't deny what you're seeing. But a lot of people will not want to see it, because it's hard to really accept that what you can't see may be affecting you at cellular level. But the thing is that even if we don't have a Wi-Fi in our home, our neighbor may have a Wi-Fi, and this will be coming into our home. And, as we step out into the world, out of our homes or away from our devices, we're going for a walk, we're walking down the street. There's cell towers which will be affecting us as well. If we're going into the supermarket, into shops, into businesses, everybody has Wi-Fi. And I think this is why it's so important to be having protection on you no matter where you go, because you simply just can't get away from it. And even now we know that these street lights, you know, are getting 5G ready, and I've tested them, and there's EMFs coming off the street lights as well. So while you're out walking your dog thinking I'm getting away from all of this, you aren't, you know, it's there around us. But,
and of course in the schools as well, Caroline, as well, and hospitals and everywhere.
Well, yes, because exactly, the mobile companies are paying hospitals to have their towers on top of, you know, their buildings. You know,
but this is what we're here to do. It's like people have got to wake up to this. And I see that you put down there the wireless satellites set to cover the Earth as well, Caroline.
Yeah, this, you know, there's a lot of talk about that as well. And you know, we're just going to be bombarded from every angle. So this is why it's just so important to look at technologies like photonic for, you know, everyday protection. And, you know, because they are dangerous, you know, they're pernicious, they're affecting us. And I think a lot of people, you know, which I'll come on to, they say, why are these so dangerous for us? It's because a lot of people don't realize that we are actually electrical beings. You know, our cells pulse with electricity. We have an electrical biofield around us that goes out 6 feet. And before we had all these very high frequency EMFs, you know, our bodies would pulse at a frequency that was in harmony with the Earth. You've all heard of the Schumann frequency, you know, 7.8 gigahertz. And that's what our body is in harmony with, Earth and humans. It's been like that for millennia. And that's why if you go and stand bare feet on the ground, or you're on the sand in the ocean with all those negative ions coming at you as well, this is when we feel most grounded and, you know, in harmony with our own body. But we just don't realize how these EMFs potentially affect us. And we've all seen these images where, you know, putting the phone up to our ear heats up our heads, and especially if we're children, how damaging that can be even more because of the, you know, less bone density. But as I said, it takes 1 minute for a red blood cell to whiz around the body. So where it's affecting one area, it's going to be affecting the whole body. And a lot of people get a lot of symptoms, and maybe they don't realize that potentially the EMFs are affecting them, you know, from sleep problems to energy problems. People get ringing in the ears. That's a big one. And I think there's an uptick in that, especially amongst my clients. And I think people who are electromagnetic sensitive, you know, do get a lot more ringing in the ears. Another one will be immune system. There's plenty of clinical studies out there that show that the EMFs actually reduce our white blood cell count. So, you know, there's a lot to consider, and there's a lot of research as well. So people can go and just have a look at this research, find it. You have to, because with these photonic cards, even since I've been using them, I sleep so deeply and so well. I just, you know, I feel in harmony wherever I go. When I take my dog out for a walk now, I just feel protected. I feel like I don't need to worry about, you know, what's around me so much, because I've got this protection on me, because I get to see it. Lucky me, you know, and now I'm getting to show it to people as well, so they can understand how these affect us. Yeah.
Caroline, that is just brilliant work, and we're so grateful for doing this. And I want everyone to know that Caroline did that research project completely at her own cost, off her own back and everything. And you've done this with other products that you're passionate about, because as a therapist, your level of integrity is just absolutely amazing, that you really do go into this level of detail. So I'm very, very grateful to have you, Caroline. And it's really important, isn't it, Kim? Because so many of us, you know, this is why all three of us are so passionate about sharing these solutions. And of course, there's lots of other things that you can do to get out and ground yourself. We can't all necessarily move into the middle of the wilderness, even though we might be tempted at times. But personally, I see a lot of issues with people that have got smart meters in their house with their animals' health as well, because it affects them. And we see dramatic improvements when they get their smart meters removed. So this is real. And I think I really want people to see your presentation, because, you know, as you say, the blood doesn't lie. And it's so difficult at the moment, particularly humans. We all know about the placebo effect, we all know about the nocebo effect, so knowing what's real and what's imaginary. But once you do know these challenges that we're all being faced with, we can do something about it.